Hi. So are you already planning your New Year's resolution? Are you making a list of all of the things you're going to either do or not do in the new year? And how many of those things do you expect to actually fully achieve and to make new practices on and to keep going into the new year? I'm going to encourage you to not make a list. I think you are more likely to succeed in changing your habits and in making new practices if you don't make the New Year's resolution. So I want to talk to you about how not to make a New Year's resolution and change your life. Okay, how does that sound? See, it all comes down to understanding what's going on. It all comes down to understanding what is it that is happening in the first place in order to create the habit that we have that we want to change. Why do we have the habit in the first place? Why do we have that practice at the moment in the first place? If we can understand that, then we can actually look at what needs to happen in order to make it safe for us to change that habit. What I found as I've been developing conscious health practice is that not only is it not possible to change a strategy until it's safe to do so, but actually as soon as you start to say, I'm going to get rid of this strategy, I'm going to stop this habit, I'm going to change this, all kinds of things happen. We create a chemical environment in our body that actually starts to prevent us from entering into health, because we have fear, frustration, we have resistance, because we haven't yet looked at what that strategy is doing for us, and we haven't looked at what needs to happen and be put in place before we actually move out of that pattern. So it's like if I've got a security blanket and you say, okay, it's time to give up your security blanket, okay, I'm not ready to give it up, my body is saying inside, I'm not ready, I don't know what I'm going to do without it, I don't know how to change. All of these things that I need to think about in order to make it safe need to be addressed first. So over the next few recordings, a few videos, I'm going to look at a few things that perhaps we can think about instead, a new approach to starting the new year with new habits, new practice and new conscious health practice. Because let's face it, if we've got our health, then we can pretty much do anything we want to do. So the next video we'll talk in more detail about the 6 key elements of change and the things that make it safe for us to change. What I want to talk a little bit now about is knowing the difference between what is a symptom, what is actually the thing I'm witnessing happen, whether that's a physical symptom, whether that's an emotional symptom, or whether that's just a pattern or a symptom of behaviour that I notice I keep thinking or I keep doing, an addictive pattern. So what is the symptom that I'm witnessing? What is it that triggers me to do it? So when do I know it's time to do that? And before that, what has happened that I've learned that when that trigger happens, I need to do that thing? Because what most people try to do when they are trying to change a pattern of behaviour or to change something physical or to change an emotional state is they're only looking at the end result, and they're trying to change the end result without understanding what's going on before that. A simple analogy for that is finding that your sink is overflowing in the bathroom, and that sink is overflowing and it's flooding. Okay, so we start to see the water seeping through the light socket in the room below. So we run back upstairs and we start getting buckets and we start mopping up the floor, we're putting all the towels down. So we're dealing with the symptoms now. We're mopping all the floor, we're putting all the towels, and we're getting buckets and trying to stop the buckets of water and trying to gather the water to take it out. Okay, that's the immediate thing. And don't get me wrong, we might need to do that. We may have symptoms, we may need those things in place to help us in the immediacy of dealing with those symptoms. However, if I don't turn the tap off, it's going to keep running, and I need to understand what is it that is turning the tap on in the first place. What is it that keeps going back to that tap, turning that tap on and not turning that tap off? Okay, so this is the trigger. The trigger is turning the tap on, and the original event or the original cause of this is actually the need to turn the tap on in the first place. So there's a lot more to look at than just the symptoms that we're managing. Okay? Now our symptoms can point the way back to those triggers, and those tracks back to what actually begin that process in the first place. And really, to be truly healthy, physically, mentally and emotionally healthy, we need to consider all of those things. We do need to understand the immediacy of the symptoms. We do need to manage pain. We do need to manage the depth and severity of some symptoms, because they can be life-threatening. But what we also need to understand is that those symptoms are actually have a direct relationship to the original stressors and the original triggers that are actually holding them in place. So I'm going to encourage you to see if you can notice what is a symptom, what is a trigger. Is it somebody says? Is it smelling a certain food? Is it feeling a certain emotion that drives you to want to do a certain behavior, that sends you off in a certain chain of thought? Okay? What is the symptom, which is the train of thought? What is the trigger, which is that thing that happens that makes you start feeling that way, makes you start desiring that thing, makes you start acting in that way? And also to start reflecting on, I wonder where that comes from. I wonder what part of me is responding to something. What are they responding to? Okay? Now, we don't need to necessarily go back in time to do that. We just need to start understanding that there's a part of us somewhere that actually at the moment needs that strategy, because there isn't another strategy in place to do to help me self-manage, to help me self-regulate. Okay? So, for example, if you're looking to try to lose weight in the new year, or maybe to go and do some exercise and start the gym membership, there is a drive and a desire to do that, but then there is something that prevents you from doing it at a certain point. So I don't want to start building in failure. I don't want to say that everything you set is going to fail. What I want to do is encourage you to look at what resistance is and what hurdles might you face when you desire to change something, when you desire to create sustainable change in the new year. Okay? So I'm really interested to know your comments and thoughts. Is there something you've been trying to change every year for X amount of years and you still haven't changed it? Or do you change it for a bit and then notice that you kind of go off the rails again, or fall off the wagon, or whatever it is you do? What are your New Year's resolutions, or what were the New Year's resolutions you were going to set but now you're not going to set? Because what we're going to do is we're going to explore the parts that have been using those strategies at the moment, and we're going to try and understand what it is about them and about those strategies, what we gain from those strategies at the moment that mean that we still need them. And if between now and the new year, maybe it's possible to understand, explore, accept and reconnect with those parts of us that need those strategies, so that we can update them, we can reintegrate those parts back into our fuller self, so that we have this super conscious awareness. Okay, because it's about getting the conscious mind and the subconscious mind working together in a super conscious awareness. We have all this programming and hardwiring in our subconscious mind, and we need a conscious connection to that in order to develop real change. Okay, so let me know what your thoughts about your New Year's resolutions have been so far, and in the next video we'll talk about the 6 elements of change that need to be in place in order to start to make it possible to update and change our strategies, whether that's mental, emotional, physical, behavioural strategies. Okay, I look forward to hearing your thoughts.